When you first see the Krupp Protze, you immediately understand one thing. This machine was not designed to impress the neighbors. It was designed to make them nervous. With its long nose, strange proportions, and 6 wheels squeezed into a compact frame, the Protze looks like a vehicle that was built after someone said, "What if we made a truck that handles like a goat and looks like it escaped from an engineering experiment?" And somehow, it worked. To understand this unusual creature, we need to go back to 1934, when the first version, the L2H143, appeared. Germany at that time was modernizing its army, and Krupp wanted to deliver something innovative. The engineers had 2 objectives: reduce weight and increase mobility. And what did they come up with? A lightweight 6x4 truck with a torsion-bar suspension system that made it surprisingly flexible. In theory, this machine was meant to dance over rough terrain like a steel ballerina. In practice, well, sometimes it danced. Sometimes it just stumbled very gracefully. The L2H143 was powered by a small but clever 4-cylinder engine, the Krupp M301, with 2.5 liters of displacement, approximately 0.66 gallons, and around 55 horsepower. The torque figures were modest, about 120 newton meters, approximately 88 pound-feet. But for a lightweight truck, it was enough to keep things moving. This engine had one wonderful advantage. It was extremely fuel efficient compared to heavier military vehicles. But it also had one disadvantage. If the truck was overloaded, which soldiers did all the time, the engine responded the same way a student responds when asked to work extra hours for free. It struggled a lot. Still, the L2H143 had charm. The suspension worked beautifully, the handling was nimble, and the truck could turn in places where other vehicles needed 3 attempts and a prayer. But the frame was too light, the engine was too fragile, and the Army needed something tougher. Something that could tow artillery, carry infantry, and not complain every time a hill appeared on the horizon. And that is when Krupp said, "Fine, let's try this again." Enter the L2H143, the version everyone recognizes today, the one on museum floors, wartime photographs, and in your image. This was the Protz that made its mark. To power this new chapter, Krupp installed the M304 engine, a 3.3-liter petrol beast, approximately 0.87 gallons, producing 60 horsepower and about 150 newton-meters of torque, approximately 110 pound-feet. The difference was immediately noticeable. The truck finally had the strength to pull anti-tank guns like the PaK-36, haul soldiers with full gear, and take on uneven terrain without having a personal crisis. The L2H143 also received a stronger frame, upgraded torsion bars, and a more reliable drivetrain. Suddenly, the Protze was no longer just an experimental lightweight truck. It became a practical military tool. Its 6x4 configuration provided enough traction for most operations, and although it was not an off-road monster like later 4x4 trucks, it performed admirably on fields, forests, and unpaved roads. One of the quirks of the Protze's design was the long nose. Engineers placed the engine far forward to improve weight distribution, but soldiers joked that the truck looked like it was constantly sniffing the ground for danger. And then there was the cab. Open, exposed, and offering as much protection as a summer hat in a snowstorm. But visibility was excellent, and drivers appreciated that they could see obstacles before hitting them. Usually. The Protze had both strengths and weaknesses, and both deserve attention. On the positive side, the torsion-bar suspension gave it phenomenal ride smoothness for its time. Soldiers often said that the Protz glided over bumps while heavier trucks behaved like angry kangaroos. Steering was light, maneuverability sharp, and fuel economy surprisingly reasonable. It could carry a squad of infantry, tow artillery, and still keep up with convoys without falling behind. But the weaknesses were real. The engine, while reliable, tended to overheat under heavy load, especially in summer operations. The open cab left the crew vulnerable to weather, dust, and, unfortunately, enemy fire. And because the truck had only rear axle drive, deep mud could turn it into a beautiful but stationary sculpture. Soldiers learned quickly that if you drove a Protze into the wrong terrain, you would spend the afternoon digging it out. Despite its limitations, the L2H143 earned deep respect during the early years of the war. In Poland, France, and the Balkans, it served as a fast, dependable troop carrier and artillery tractor. On smooth terrain, it performed brilliantly. In North Africa, however, the desert exposed its weaknesses. The engine hated heat, sand-clogged cooling systems, and rear-wheel drive struggled in soft dunes. But even there, when treated carefully, the Protze managed to keep working long after other vehicles needed repairs. Today, the Krupp Protze is something special in the world of military vehicles. Its unusual design makes it instantly recognizable, and its historical importance keeps enthusiasts fascinated. Restoring one is a challenge. Spare parts are rare, engines require careful attention, and the original torsion-bar system must be kept in perfect condition. But when a restored Protze rolls onto a field, it attracts attention like no other 1930s truck. The long hood, the 6 wheels, the silhouette that looks both elegant and awkward, everything about it has character. What makes the story of the Protze so engaging is how human it feels. The early L2H43 was like an eager rookie, ambitious, but not quite ready. The later L2H43 matured into a reliable companion that carried soldiers into battle, brought them back home, and towed the guns that shaped countless engagements. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. It gave everything it had, and that is why it remains respected to this day. If you enjoy discovering the machines that defined entire eras of engineering, make sure to subscribe. There are many more remarkable stories ahead, and each one deserves to be heard.